Hello, we're the Rebel Raiders, and we're giving you our final demo on our game, Blade and Tomes. I'm Brent Abel.
I'm Alex Facer.
I'm Miller Bamford.
I'm Anirudh Organti.
I'm Aiden Emmons.
And I'm going to start us off by giving you a brief idea of our project and the technologies that we used for it. So, to tell you, our project was to create a roguelike inspired game of early computer games, and those were during like the 1980s and 90s. And so to give you an idea what that is, early computer games were all sprite based, so pixel art games, and roguelike games are supposed to be games that have a repeating loop to them. Generally, to give you an idea, your character is going to do something, and if they fail at that, they go right back to the beginning, and your goal is to get better and better with that. So for our game, we wanted to take those two things and specifically incorporate the idea of like Dungeons and Dragons into that, because a lot of those games were popular in the time, and that's what they were inspired off. And so we wanted that to be the main focus of our game, because more popular roguelike games today have kind of lost that and gone into different variants, and we wanted to kind of bring it back to that. The technologies that we used for our project, our language was Java, and we used the libgdx framework. libgdx is specifically for 2D style games. It's a very popular one as an open source. We used Gradle for our building, and JSON to save our character and any information, items, things they got during the game. And we had two other things, which were Texture Packer and the Skin Composer, which is a jar application. And we use those so that we could actually design UI elements to look more in line with what we wanted aesthetically. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to hand it off to Alex.
All right, I'm going to open the game and get us started with that. There we go. So here's our main menu screen. We have a few options. Starting at the bottom, the first option is just to quit the entire game. The second option is the settings screen, where you can adjust the volume of the music throughout the game and change any keybinds that you'll need throughout the game. If we go back, we also have a tutorial option for new players to learn mechanics and controls and features of the game. But as we're going to be going through that with you now, we're going to go ahead and just begin learning about how to play the game right here with the play button. And now, Miller.
All right, so once you hit the play button, it'll bring you to a screen where you could delete a game that you have already made or create a new one. So we're just going to create a new one where you can put a name in. You can choose your class here, whether it's the warrior, cleric, or wizard. Each one determines what your starting skills will be. Warriors get physical, clerics get social, and wizards get mental. We're going to choose a warrior. From here, we have 9 points that we can choose to attribute to any of the skills that we want. And these skills affect the secondary skills, being acrobatics, brute force, speech, barter, awareness, and intuition. These skills are used for when you enter into an event in the dungeon. You need a certain score level before it'll allow you to, and then you get rewarded a skill point if you pass the event. And then once you have all your stats divvied up the way you want, you can begin your adventure. And from here, I'm going to pass it on to Henri to start the adventure.
I'm gonna show you how once you create the character, you'll be transitioned to this screen over here. This is the overworld, and this is where you can do all the trades. You can buy stuff, you can sell stuff. You can look at the quest board. So whenever you go by a building, you get messages like this to interact with it. And in this case, if you press T, for this case, if you press T, and it'll bring up the loadout. But so this trader would like this trader is offering quests, and you can see like you could buy quests, as you can see. And if you don't have enough gold, you can buy really quests. It gives you a message. But these are all your available quests, and you can go to several different buildings and have the same message come up, as you can see here. And you can access these items you bought and selling items just by going to inventory tab, and that is kind of mapped in the settings. So there's like several different tabs, and it tells you your gold and everything. And these are slots. This is where you have your items and stuff. And the items, you can like move around the items by just dragging and dropping. And when you hover over the items, it gives you the item description, the level, the item type, and how much damage it does, if it does any damage. And so in the inventory, you have three different tabs, and those being inventory for slots and quests, as you just saw, for doing quests in the dungeons and so on and so forth. And then you have skills. This is where you can like upgrade skills. So the skills can be obtained by quests or going through events in the dungeon. So I don't have any skill points for now. So if I try to upgrade the quest, it tells you how many tokens you need and stuff. And it doesn't do anything because I don't have enough tokens. So this is like a simple buyer. You can just, you can trade by just drag and dropping. And it tells you a message if you can't trade it. It tells you, provide a level 1 sword, and it asks for if the trader wants a scythe, a level 1 scythe, then it tells you the message. And you can see how much gold you can get and stuff. So you can go through the portal to move on to the dungeon, but if you forget the controls, you can access the controls by hitting escape in my case, but it could be customized in the keyboard controls class, and it tells you all the controls and stuff. And you could exit out, but I'm not going to exit out. I'm going to go to the dungeon. So you can go to the dungeon just by going to the portal, and Aiden is going to explain some more on that.
Thank you. Give me one moment to share my screen. So once you arrive into the dungeon, you are placed inside of a square, basically a square room, and as you can see, you can see that I'm using a different character, but for our purposes, this should work. So as you can see, I can move around inside of the dungeon, and if I hit the movement keys, instead of like a continuous movement, it's more of a stagnated movement. This is so that we can replicate kind of that turn-based action that you would see in old school RPG games. And when I moved into the new room, it would generate a new room and then come with an encounter. In this case, this encounter is a combat encounter. So what you can do is you can move, and in response, the goblins will move, and if they're within a certain range, they will move. Within a certain range, they will move and attack. So once they hit the Q in my case, once you hit the attack button, I can select between. I can rotate using the A and W key or the left and right keys in terms of moving right and moving left, and I can select a target. And then once I have the target that I want, I can hit enter, and it will select and hit the target and attack the target. Now I can continuously do this so that I can defeat the encounter. So I'll beat them really quick, which goes to show a perfect example of what happens when we lose health. When we lose health, I can use something like this healing potion right here that I have selected, and hit the Q button to use the potion and replenish my health. There is also strength potions, which in essence, what they do is they affect the user's ability to do damage. They increase your damage output and your hit, and this lasts for a temporary amount of time. And so as you explore the dungeon, you can see that there are different kind of shapes of rooms and what they look like. And one of the things that will spawn in the room, that might spawn in the room, is chests. And so if you hit the trade button like you would in the overworld, you can open up the chest and see that there are items inside, and these are randomly generated. So you're able to take these items and put these in your inventory to sell later. So I'm going to move these in here. Now, what is there is to note is that while I've not been lucky to get a ranged weapon, there is ranged combat in this game. So if I move through 5 rooms, I will be able to defeat the dungeon. And here's another event that can happen, a literal event. And so in this event, as Miller mentioned, it will give you 2 choices of the skills. And so since my character is a warrior, I can click brute force, and I succeed, and I earn a skill point. And as you can see, if I go into skills, I have a token that I can spend and upgrade my skills. So I can use that to upgrade my brute force if I need to. So now what you may be wondering is, well, what happens where's the end? What happens when you reach the end? Well, what happens is if we reach the end, so let me get through these combat encounters. And what's more is that the player cannot walk within the range of the goblin. So what happens is when the player reaches about 5 rooms, they will be presented with a portal, and if the player walks through the portal, it will come up with a question basically asking, will the player like to delve further or return to town? And delve further, all that means is you go to the next level. There's a level multiplier, so that means you're lasting longer in the dungeon, trying to push that whole roguelike experience and try to earn more gold effectively. Whereas if you just return to the town, you'll just be sent back to the overworld.
That's our presentation for Blade and Tomes. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.